Hi guys. So let's just give the grace for a few minutes for more people to join the meeting before we start our class for today. All right, guys. So, we're going to start our class for today. So today's class is going to be on high fidelity designs and prototype. My name is Oge and I'm going to be your tutor for today's class. So I'm going to share my screen shortly. I hope you guys can hear me. Please, if you can hear me, signify in the chat box that you can actually hear me. So I'm going to be sharing my screen shortly and we begin for the day. All right, can you guys see my screen now? You can speak because now that I'm sharing my screen, I might not always check the chat box. And also, we're starting
Yes,
the class now. So if you have questions, you can also just signify or you just speak and let me know that you have questions. Just in case, because if you put anything in the chat box, I might not be able to see them because I'm sharing my screen now and I'm going to be so focused. So this is just an empty canvas. I believe you guys already know the your way around the canvas and the layouts. I think you guys had a class on wireframes yesterday, right?
yes, we did.
Okay. So and you guys are familiar with the canvas, right? So I could just go ahead with designing the visual screens. Is that okay?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Why is it just one person responding?
We are
That's
together, ma. We are together, ma.
okay. All right. Okay. So designing for high fidelity visual screens is basically where you need to add the content writing for the design as well as images, or you make carousels or slides for the design. It's just what basically makes up the visual design, right? And also where you have to like put in the layout, you have to make sure alignment is balanced, the visual hierarchy is balanced, where you have to include colors and what have you and every other thing, right? So I'm going to be designing, I don't know, let me design a mobile screen for practice just to show with the visual designs. Is that okay?
Sorry, ma. Please, we've been dealing with mobile screens throughout the class. Can we go to system? Can we use system, for instance?
Okay, that's fine. So you want me to design okay, I'm going to design a hero section for a food brand. So let me use that as a guide. So you're going to get in your frame here, and I'm going to be using desktop, right? So this is my desktop frame that I'm going to be using. So let me just name it. Uh, so let me just name the brand Foodie. So when you get in your frame, does anybody have an idea? What's the first thing you do when you bring in your frame? Before any other thing else, what's the first thing that you do?
Is it?
I
I
want
think it's to
this
set
to
the grade.
be I want this to be a follow-up class. I don't just want to be teaching and just be teaching. So I want it to be a follow-up class so that I know that everybody's following up in this class and everything is well understood. So when you bring out a frame, be it a mobile frame or a desktop frame, what's the first thing that you do?
You rename the frame.
Which I have done. So I'm assuming because it's a food hero section website that I'm trying to work on, I'm assuming that the name of the food brand is called Foodie, which I have done. So what's the next thing I'm supposed to do? Any idea?
I think it's to set up your grid lines, or you
Okay,
import.
great.
Yeah.
Great. So the first thing is your grid lines. Now import whatever, I think that has to do with images, right? But sometimes until you start, you really don't know the images that are particularly going to fit for this exact design or whatever design that you're working on, right? So now let's add our grid. So we're going to go to layout and then we're going to go to columns, and so because it's a desktop, right, we're going to give it we're going to give it a count of 16, and we're going to give it a margin of so it differs with people, right? You could actually use 120 or you can actually use 100. It just depends on whatever it is that you want to work on, right?
Sorry, ma. Please, I have a question, ma.
Go ahead.
Is it okay asking questions as the class go on?
Yes,
So I will
better
don't.
off, because sometimes when I'm done, you might likely forget. So you can go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. So we've not been put in depth on how to go about with grid. So I would like to ask, for instance, now let me use desktop for instance now. How do we know the particular number of grid to use? Like, how do we know this particular design need this particular grid to set up, or for mobile app, this is the setup, this is a particular grid line to use? Because now you said sometimes you can use 100 as a margin, sometimes you can use 120. I believe also we can
Okay.
also use 16 and something else. So how do we know how to?
No, no. Okay, I get you. But you know how I believe everybody's familiar with how to make stew, right? So you know how you want to make stew and you can use Maggi and still be sweet, and you can use only crayfish and seasoning, right? But you still get your desired stew. It's just that the taste might be different, but of course it's still going to be sweet, and whatever spicy or pepperish, it depends on how much pepper you add into it and or how much you want to make it spicy. So basically this is a standard, right? The standard is 16. So the only reason why people like to, or a lot of us like to adjust this margin, it just depends on how you want the layout, that's the spacing to be at the end of the day, because you're going to actually present this, right? So when you present this, you're going to see there's a difference between this here and this here is with the margin that we're actually talking about. So you can see that if I make it 120, you can see there's a lot of margin here. It's now like wider. Do you understand? So it just depends on what you want to work on. It depends on how you want it. Both is actually correct, but it's just like the common one. So now you don't adjust this gutter. It has to be 20. And of course, it has to be on stretch. Why? Because of this. Do you understand? So you know that this is going to be the frame, right? This is going to be the frame. You can see how it stretches. This is going to be the frame that's going to be housing everything, every design that is going to be here. So whatever image, whatever section I'm designing, they're going to be inside this frame. Do you understand? Now, another thing is this count also helps you, right? Because now you're designing, this margin has to be like off, it's off limit. Which means basically that you cannot, whatever you're designing has to be within this count, right? It cannot go past this count. It cannot enter into this white space in here, right? And then this color is, if you want to like change the color, maybe depending on the kind of design that you're working on and you want it to be a bit lighter, if you want to change it, if you want it to be blue, do you understand? So that's basically just it about column, about layout grids. So I think you know the layout grids for mobile, because you said you guys have been working with mobile, right?
No, we don't know the grid for mobile.
Okay, so now let me bring in a frame for mobile. Phone. So now let me choose. Now there are so many screens here, right? There's so many. You can see we have iPhone 16. Now the more it increases, the more it keeps going up. Before iPhone 16 Pro came out and all that, we had just iPhone 14 and iPhone 15 Pro Max here, right? And then you're also going to see that if you're designing for Android, you also have Android Compact and you have Android Medium. But if you're designing for iOS screen most times, right, is the standard to use is iPhone 13 mini. Now, the reason why you're going to people recommend this, or would I say people, would I say the standard recommendation for iOS mobile is this is because it is responsive, it is scalable, right? For you to do this, if I did whatever screen I design here, if I bring in an iPhone 16 Pro Max, now let me bring iPhone 16 Pro Max. You can see that it's bigger, right? They're not the same. But it literally means that whatever I design on this frame can fit into this frame perfectly well. Which means that if I design with iPhone 13 mini and that's when you're done with all of your designs, like developer has worked on it, it's now in like it's brought to life, right? Whoever that is using it can use it on whatever screen, be it iPhone 16, iPhone 14, iPhone 15, whatever, right? But if you use any other screens, if you're going to use maybe an iPhone 14 plus, let's say for example, any other one, most times it's not usually scalable on any other screens, like on any other screen size. Do you understand? So the standard recommendation for iOS is what? iPhone 13 mini. That's 375 by 812. So that's that for that. So we're going to go back to our
Okay, sorry, ma. Please, what of the grid for the
oh
iPhone?
yes, sorry, I missed that. So the grid for the iPhone is 13 mini. You're going to give it a count of 4. So you're going to give it a count of 4 and then margin of 16. This is smaller because why? This is what, and you can see it still remains on stretch. Most times you don't touch all these things here. You just have to just adjust the count and the margin because that's like the most essential thing that you need. Now this is like specifics, right? It has to be margin of 16. And like I said, you can see it here. You see that whatever I design on this screen now, so if I should draw a frame here, if you check, you're going to see that, see, you can see the margin here is 16, right? So this is just to help you so that for alignment sakes, right? So that you don't design out of the words of the margin. You design what's within the counts that is what that you're using, right? So that's it.
And what of Android, ma? Since that's for iPhone, what of Android?
Okay. Let's start with this. I'll come back to Android. I promise. Because if
Okay,
we keep
okay.
going, you're going to keep asking me questions and we're not going to do anything. This is almost 5:30 already. So let's now we've given our put it down in the chat so I don't forget. So we've given our desktop frame a grid. Now the next thing to do is to design our navigation menu, right? So you see how you look at a lot of websites and you always have like the logo at the top and then you have the different menus. We call it what? The nav menu. Some people call it the nav bar, basically, right? So now we don't have a logo for this brand. So we're going to just type in the name and assume that it is what? It is a logo. Now, when it comes to fonts, typography and then colors, that's another thing, right? And we have different fonts, of course. So let me type the name of this brand. So let me give it Foodie Hub, right? And so you can see that we have 1,000 or more than, so we have so many fonts in Figma, right? It just depends on the kind of fonts that you want to use and the industry that you're designing for. It is really very important. It is very important that whatever website, because actually this is actually a website, but I'm not going to finish it up, and that's why I'm going to be only designing what the hero section of the website, right? Now, so whatever industry that you're working for, there are fonts that are peculiar to that industry. That is where what research comes in, right? So you need to do your research. You need to make a lot of researches. The fonts that you use for a food brand is not the same kind of font you use for what? For a SaaS kind of website. It's not the same kind of font you use for what? For a fintech kind of website. Do you understand? Now there are different industries, right? So you need to also do your research before you now choose what the particular font that you want to work with. But of course, Inter is like a very general font that fits what most industries, right? The SaaS, you can actually use Inter. For a food brand, you can use Inter. For a logistic brand, e-commerce, you can use Inter, right? So we're going to work with Inter for this brand. So I'm going to use Inter, right? So now we're assuming that this is going to be our logo. It's not showing here because the canvas is white. So I'm going to change the color to black. Now you don't use 000 black. So 000, just like you have FFF for white, right? You have 000 for black. So this is it here, right? You just use this to move around this to choose whatever colors that you want. And the reason is for contrast issues, right? Now, over time, because you keep learning every day, right? So over time, it's like advisable that you use a lot of gray text, a lot of gray and then white text, but it also depends on the background color of your words, of your frame, of your website. You know that if I should use gray, it's not going to be so visible, right? So the best thing to actually use is what? I can use black. But now there are different shades of black. That's why you don't have to use 000, right? If you move around your canvas, you're going to see that these are all black and they're different shades, right? Can you see? So just to choose a particular shade that you want, and we're going to go with that. So I'm going to use 1B, 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 and yeah. So 1B, 1B, 1B is not like exactly black. It's always good for like text. But you can see that because I'm trying to work on a logo design, I need a word, a more shade of black that is visible, right? Let me zoom in so you can see this shade. You can see it's not like black like that. I'm zooming and that's why it's looking like this. So if I zoom out, see this is the way it looks like, right? So let me give it another shade. Okay, so we're going to work with this. This is 0F, 0D, 0D. So we're going to work with this. So now I'm going to, because it's my logo and I want it to be like really, I'm going to make it semi-bold, and I'm going to use, let me use 40, right? And let's see. So Inter is, now it depends on the font. Do we all know what these functions here are for, right? Do we know that? Let me know if I have to explain.
Yes.
Okay, good. So depending on the kind of font that you want to use, you know if you have to what include letter spacing, paragraph spacing, and what have you. But of course, Intel is a general font that really most of the time you really don't have to use all of, because of course it's general font, right? And it's a very good font. So we're going to use this Foodie Hub is going to be our logo. Let's assume that it's our logo, right? So I'm going to put it here. Now, on every section of a website, you always see the home, you always see the about us that talks about the company and the brand. You always see whatever product. If it's like a marketing website, you're going to see the next that shows has to be what, like the marketing, or like is more insight into the marketing brand. But now working with a food brand, so we're going to say we're going to have home, we're going to have about us, and then we're also going to have menu, right? Because of course, people want to always see like the menu on the first page, like that. That's the landing page basically. So if I'm going to be designing this fully, I'm going to call it what? A landing page. You can also call it what? A one-pager website. So it means that it's not a full website, because why? I'm not designing like complete screens of the website. It's just going to be just one. So we're going to have home. So I don't want this to be bold. So I'm going to give it, let me use 18. And I'm going to set it on regular. Let me reduce this to a medium. I think this is fair enough. Okay, so this is home. Now remember, I have to use the same color code that I use. I'm assuming that this is my logo. Remember, if it's a pure logo that is being given to you, for example, you're working for a brand, the logo is going to be given to you. Sometimes if it's not given to you, you might have to work with a graphic designer if you don't know how to design a logo. And what the graphics person will work on the logo and then send the logo to you. So you're just going to bring in the logo here. Now the logo has to also the colors using the logo has to also rhyme with the colors that you want to use in designing for the brand. So we're assuming that this is our our logo. We might likely come back later to change the color, but for now, let's assume it's our logo. So this is the home, and I'm going to use the same color code, right? So now this is the color code I'm going to be using. So now I'm going to create another one. So this is about us, right? Now I'm going to do this, put it in an auto layout because I want it to be what? Do you guys understand auto layout?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I need other answers. Do you guys understand auto layout, please? Because it feels like it's just Shedrack that is speaking.
Yes, we do.
Okay, all right. So putting this in an auto layout, I'm going to give it spacing of 16. You can choose however spacing that you want. There's no one size fits, right? So because I want multiple, right, I'm going to duplicate this. And so let's call this menu. So I'm going to have another, what do I call this? So let me say this is what contact us, right? Let me just leave it as contact. So this is what we have here. Now let me work on our buttons, right? So we have sign up. I'm going to use Shift A, and I'm going to give this. Now it depends on the kind of button that you want. So I don't want this button to be a rounded button. So it's going to be like this, right? So I'm just going to, it depends on how you want, but it's always advisable to always give enough padding space to your buttons, right? So that it is breathable. So I'm going to give this. So I'm going to increase the horizontal padding because I want it to have more space. So let me give it horizontal padding of 32, right? I don't want an horizontal gap between them. Center aligned. So now let's give it colors. Now you know that this is just a random design. We've not like choose a particular colors for this design, right? But now we know that there are really particular colors that you can use for the food industry. If you look at a lot of food industry mobile applications, the very common color is like green, orange, very few use red, and all that, right? So now, before I do that, I'm going to duplicate this because I'm going to have two buttons here. I want members to be able to log in and sign up. Right? So now I have two buttons here. One is going to be a field button and one is going to be an outline button. Right? Now the field button is what I'm giving going to give like more CTA to. That's call to action basically. And it's like I want users to be able to do what? To log in, or I want users to be able to do what? To be able to sign up. So in this case, sign up is going to be our field button, because you want it to be like, yes, this is what users want. You want users to be able to like locate this once they come on the website, like, okay, yes, I had, this is where I'm going to actually click towards to sign up and be able to what get access into the website, or like order whatever it is they want to do. So this is going to be a field button. So we're going to give it a color. So let's give it green, and then I'm going to change the text to what? To white. Now, why? Because of
So-
course,
Sorry, ma.
somebody,
I wanted to ask, this was it the padding that you did that gave it the shape? Because I didn't see you import any shape to
yes,
give it a color before you
yes,
put.
yes. Now there are different ways. You know, I gave an instance to making stew, right? Now there are different ways to make buttons. But the reason why it is also always good to use auto layout in your designs, because of what? Responsiveness, scalability. It is makes it easier. It makes it a lot more easier, right? You can see. Can you see? That's the reason why. There's gonna be a difference if I don't do this. Now, let me bring in a frame. You can see that I'm not using a rectangle, guys. I'm using what? A frame. Now, I'm going to give this frame this color, right? Then I'm going to get in my text and I'm going to write sign up. Now I'm going to place it towards center because I also want it to be in the middle. Now, this is another button. But look at, can you see the difference?
Yes, yes, ma. I can see it.
Now look at this. You can see that whatever size I want it to be,
Achievable
if
through that auto layout.
yes, you can see that it follows whatever I want. Now remember that I set this auto layout towards center because that's where I want it to be, right? If you put it by the left, look at, but because you set this to be what? To be in the middle. So now it is taking up the whole, so whatever way you're going to be able to do what? To resize it, it follows suit. Because there might be times where you want to like, you might make this like a, let me give it a rounded, let me give it a, so now, because there are different types of buttons. You can see buttons that are like this, you can see buttons like this. It depends on however you want it. So let's just use this. So there might be, you might want to use your button in a particular design. So let me say mobile screens. If you're designing mobile screens, most of the time you always use field buttons. Let me give you guys an example. So we have this here now, right? And then Control D. Now, let's say we have all our text and everything here, right? I want to have this button. A lot of times, the button has to be filled. Like, it has to be full. It has to be fit within the content of what, because it's mobile. Do you understand? But you cannot have button that is like this on web. Like, you have to now increase it to fit the whole size. You know, right? That's why I said when you make use of auto layout, it makes what? Scalability and responsiveness very easy for you. Do you guys understand? So now let's go back to our designs. So don't make mistake of using rectangle or using a frame. Don't do your buttons like this. It's not like it's wrong, it is correct, but this is the difference. There's no responsiveness. You're going to have a lot of problems with this. Do you understand? Because whereby you have multiple content, if you're designing a card, for example, and you have to put in your button, the button will not be responsive with the rest of what? With the rest of the cards. It's going to be an issue for you. So better still, you use what? Auto layout. If you want to increase the vertical padding, you can always come here and increase it. Let's say you want to be 24. You can see that it has increased, right? It depends on how bold you want your buttons to be, right? So now I don't want it to be like this. I'm going to give it vertical padding of 20. This is how I want it. Now, these are login screens, right? And sorry, our login button. And I'm going to use what? Outline button for this. Now, the button has to be the same thing, right? You all know when it comes to components, if this is going to be like a responsive button all through the design, I'm going to have to make this what? A component. And when I make it a component, I can easily just bring it out and then use what? Because I want to maintain the same what? The same properties. Right? Now, I'm going to change this to 20 because I used 20 in the other one. Now, this is what we have here, right? Or better still, you can just click on this and duplicate. It's as easy. So that you don't make mistakes in these different size. Because now it has like the same, you can see that both of them has the same width and height. But now we don't want this to be filled. So I'm going to change the text towards login first of all. Now that's out of the way. And then I'm going to remove this because I don't want it to be a filled button. Now I'm going to add a stroke. So when you look at this is the color code for this green. I'm going to copy the color code and then use the color code in this stroke. Right? Now it depends on how visible you want it to be. If you want it outside or you want it inside or you want it centered, depending on how you want it, right? Then the text, remember the text is white, canvas is white, and outside is not showing, right? So I'm going to give it the brown color. So now this is my what? Outline button and this is my field button. No matter how you look, if you're looking at it, it's going to look like this is actually longer or wider than this, but it's the same thing. This is just because this one is what outlined. You can see that it's taking the same width and height, 186.62, and then this one is 186.62. Can you see that? They are both what? Center aligned when it comes to the auto layout. So we have our buttons in check. So I'm going to put this in an auto layout, right? Remember, I am designing the nav bar. So I want a spacing of 16 between both of them, and I'm just going to put them here. Remember, whatever you are designing has to be within this. It cannot go outside. Nothing has to enter this margin space, right? So we have our home about us menu, and we also have our foodie, our logo. This is assumed to be what? To be our logo. But now you can see that something is wrong here. Can somebody tell me what is wrong?
The alignment.
No, nothing's wrong with the alignment. They're all in auto layouts. I have not put them together yet as a nav bar. You can see they are still separate, but something is wrong.
I think the
Now,
spacing between all of them.
no, it's not about the spacing. Now, because you're designing for nav bar, the nav bar is meant to fit in across. It cannot be it cannot be small. You know, when you look at websites, you know how website is when you open the website, you're seeing that the website is like everywhere. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like the nav bar is spread across the frame of the website. That's how it's supposed to be. But of course, it's going to be center aligned. So the space is not really the issue here. Something is wrong. Okay, now, when you're designing, right? There are times where you're going to have to put in your colors and your text into one feet. You're going to put everything into one feet, right? But you also need to have eyes for what? For balance. There has to be a balance in whatever you're designing. That's why I said looking at this, something is off. Now the buttons are looking too bigger. It's not balancing with the words, with the text here. Right? And also, these buttons are meant to be what? Medium and not regular. So now I'm going to make that adjustment. Now I'm going to reduce my buttons and let's see. Can you see there's a difference?
Yes, yes.
Something is off. What's off? The logo. The logo is what is overshadowing. There's meant to be a balance between all of them, right? It's looking too big. Now, typography is something that you'd also have to go deep, like an in-depth knowledge. You need to really, really learn it. Now, there's a trick I use, and I'm going to give you guys, let me just give you guys for free. Should I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the one trick I use for my typography is the higher the weight, the lower the font size. If you're on your system or you're jotting down, it will be better for you to note this down. It is one trick I use that really, really helps me because the truth is you never completely get typography. I'm not saying this to generalize, no, but a lot of, no matter how good you are, sometimes you're also going to have typography issues. But the one trick that really, really helps, because sometimes you even end up designing all you have to do, and then you still like look at it and you're like, something is off. There's no balance between this text, there's no balance between the colors of one thing, and you have to go back to do what to now readjust all of them. That's you what making iterations to what to your designs. So now what I do is the higher the font weight, the lower the font size. The lower the font weight, the higher the font size. What do I mean? It means that if I'm going to give it a medium, it means that the text is going to be what? Higher. If I'm going to give it a semi-bold or bold, it means that I'm not going to use what? 40. Do you understand? Now, that is one trick that really helps. But now, it doesn't completely work in all type of fonts. Because now there are fonts that don't have the whole font weight. There are fonts that don't have all of this. So there are fonts you see that it only comes with regular, medium, and semi-bold. You don't see light, you don't see regular, you don't see this. Now, you can see how my regular looks here in Inter, right? If I use popping, it's not going to be like this. Let me show you guys. Now, let me bring it under here. Can you see there's a difference? Let me zoom in. Is there a difference or not? This is
Yes,
thicker
very
than
good.
this. If you
Yes.
look at it very well, this is thicker than this actually, right? This is thicker than this, which means that regular in Poppins is medium in Inter. And now I'm doing this because now I am actually like used to these fonts. Do you understand? So sometimes if you want to use Poppins for like normal regular subtext, like content text, you don't use regular because it will be looking like it's almost medium. Rather, you use what? You use light. Can you now see? You now see that normal, this is like the normal, like normal text. You can see that it's almost the same thing with this. It is just the size that's making it look bigger. If I reduce the size to, can you see? So now it also depends on the font that you're using, and there's so many things. So it doesn't mean that the trick works in every kind of font. It just depends on how you're able to tweak it so that it works for you or for the design. So something is off here, and I think I would want to reduce this. Let me use 32 and let me use medium. Now, can you see that it's better? So we're going to put all of this together as our nav bar. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to do this and Shift A, and we have what? So most times you might want to put it to spread across. That's what I do most times because I want it to be do what? You can see width set to fix for frame 7. Now this frame is what is called frame 7. I'm just going to change this to what? To the nav bar.
Please, ma, what did you actually do? How did
Okay,
you
what
go
I
about
did
it?
was
Yes.
I held Shift, right? Once you click on this, you hold Shift down. Then you click on this, you click on this, and then you now hold, you click on A. It might be different if you're using a Mac. I'm using a Windows. But I think it's also the same thing. I think it's the same shift I use. It's not like it's Ctrl. It was Ctrl to be like, I think Windows for Macs or something. For Mac or something. But yeah, that's how I did it. It's the same like if you're doing auto layout, that's how you do it. Right?
I thought it was to group the
No,
entire.
no, 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 no. It's not group. No, no, don't group. You put everything in an auto layout. Can you see? This is the reason why. You can see that it is scalable. Can you see? It is responsive. If I want to design for mobile now, I will just copy this and bring in here. But I'm not going to show all of them. I'm just going to use that the menu icon. Why? Because the mobile screen is small. But if I'm going to bring in an iPad, let me use a tab. Now, can you something is wrong? Do you know why? Do you know why it is doing like this? Because why tell me why?
The size is too. It's not
Exactly.
perfect.
Exactly. You also have to work on the size, reduce the size because now this is a smaller screen. So now that's why I said whatever it is not a one size fit. It now depends on the screen you're working on. And also I set this to what to auto, right? You can see that I change it back and now it gave a lot of space. It means that I have to do what? I have to also work on the spacing for this to fit in properly. That's why I said there's no one standard for it all. You are going to be the one to be able to tweak it to whatever frame size that you're working with. Do you understand? So now we have our nav bar section ready, as you can see. Now it is always good to always name your name your canvas. I'm going to set this to this, and then you can see that it's very okay. It is not a must that it has to get to the end because you can see now there's this small space here. There's this small space here. It's not a must it has to get to the end. If you want, you can push it to be at the end, right? It just depends on what works for you. The most important thing is that it is being set towards center alignment and it is balanced. Looking at it visually, you know that it's actually balanced. So now I'm going to give it a spacing here. Let me just give it a spacing of 24, right? So now we're going to work on our hero section. I'm going to bring in a frame and I'm going to name this frame hero section. Now this is our hero section, right? So whatever we're designing, now I'm doing it section by section. Now I was expecting a question that why am I not designing on the frame itself? Why am I bringing the section?
I
Now
wanted to ask you, how did you even bring that frame, sir?
you
Is it the
click on
normal
this now.
frame?
Yeah, the normal frame now. You don't need
Okay.
to go to when you know when you click here, When you go here, that's when you now see for whatever size, that's whatever
Yeah.
frame size you want to design. But now
Mm.
you just click on it and you just what draw.
Okay.
Do you understand? You don't use a rectangle. Oh. Don't use rectangle, guys. Use what? A frame. Why? Because a frame can be in a frame. You can see how this is here. But most times when you bring in a rectangle might not likely what stay in a frame. There's always a problem with rectangles. Can you see? You can see that it's not inside the frame. It came out. And it just has a lot of issues most times. So it's just standard recommendation is what? Is to use a frame. So I have brought in my, going to delete this. Now this is my hero section, right? I can also like resize it whatever way that I want. It just depends on what I'm working on. But I'm just going to increase the Y because I'm just going to assume that there's meant to be what? An image here. Now for my spacing, I want to give it a spacing of 48. Now it depends on what you want. You know, when it comes to spacing, we have 8 and we have the 4. It depends on, sorry, excuse me. It depends on whatever you want, basically. It depends on how you want it to be. The most important thing is at the end of the day, there has to be what? A balance. Because whatever you design, that is what developer is going to build for you. Now, let me present this. And it's also very good, or one thing that works for me most times is when I design, I like to present. Because when I present it, you can actually see it very well. Let me even remove this grid. Can you see now? So let me present it so that we're able to see how it looks like when you present it. Now, can you see how it looks like? Can you guys see how it looks like? So this is how it's actually going to look like on the website. Now there's a problem here. This is actually causing a problem, this logo. So let's see how it looks like here. Okay, this is fair enough. But now you can see that it's too up. Can you guys see? So we're going to adjust the spacing here. So let's just give it. So let's assume that spacing between sections is going to be what? 48 all through the designs, right? So now spacing here is 24. We're going to bring it down to 48, which means I'm going to adjust this further down to 48. So now let's check and then see how it looks like. Now this looks better. Can you see? So let's go ahead. Let's put our grid back on. I need this to be filled. It's looking somehow when it's just okay. I still have 48. And then when I come here, now this is better. All right, so let's go ahead and this. So now for the hero section, there's going to be it depends on how you want design to look like, right? But now let's just do a basic text and image for the hero section. So I'll just say tasty, nutritious meals. Hmm, what can I use now? Tasty nutritious meals to your doorstep. This is not a good, see this kind of thing, you don't want to order food from this website. So someone should come up with something. What can we use for the, we need to use something very catchy that highlights the action and what exactly it is solving. So now this is a food brand website whereby you can actually like order healthy meals, right? So what can we use?
Home away from home.
Home away from home is not, where is the food? There's no food there now. There has to be food. Home away from home, how? How is it related to a food brand? Do you understand? So we can't use home away from home. So somebody should come up with something. Let's use for this.
Bringing you the best African meal to your doorstep.
Okay. Okay. Now we'll have to adjust what? The line spacing because it's too close. You cannot bring the best African meal. Okay. Fresh, healthy African meals made just for you. Okay. So you can see that our spacing is set to auto. So let's adjust and then see how. See. Okay. This is better. Let's reduce it a bit. Let's say 148. Okay. So fresh African meals, fresh healthy African meals made just for you. Now there's meant to be another content under. So I can say meals tailored to your lifestyle, right? Because we're saying healthy meals. Now it's doing this because of I set it to, I changed the this thing. Exactly. To your lifestyle, comma, meals tailored to your lifestyle should be what? Mm, delicious and healthy. Yeah. So I'm trying to create a balance. So we have this. Let's increase it to changing the font here, right? Coming. So what's the color code for these buttons? Now this button basically is our primary button. So let me just drop something that will have this so that I don't have to keep clicking on the buttons to get the color code. You know, this is our primary color. So let me remove the stroke first. You see why I talked about font earlier? You see how font for Inter is different from this font for Ojuju? Now this Fresh Healthy made just for you is medium for Inter. And I'm using the same medium for Ojuju font, and you can see that it is lighter. Can you now see? That's why I said it depends on the font that you're using. You're going to be able to know how you have to tweak it to get what you want, right? Let me change everything and see how it looks. Okay. Okay, I think this is better. I'll explain why I'm adding a stroke. I'm coming. Now there's a balance. If I do it this way, it doesn't stand out. I want it to stand out when people look at it. So you see, something is wrong. It's not. So let me make everything Ojuju font instead of mixing it with Inter, and let's see. Now, if you have ideas, please speak up, because now this is where the actual design comes in. You're going to keep tweaking and tweaking a lot of things to now see what best fits for your design. So if you have an idea, speak about it so that we'll know how we have to do this. Okay, this is medium. I put this on semi-bold earlier, so I'm changing it back to medium.
I think we're having issues with the African male font.
No, I've made everything the same thing. They're not the same font.
You're talking of standing out. So I think is making all of them the same color, like green, doesn't stand out like you've said. So we should change the color of the African male.
Unless you're going to make everything dark. So another thing that we could do is, so now let's go back to, sorry. So let's make it inter. Now everything is inter. Let me remove this stroke. Why is it showing me mixed? Okay. Now everything is inter and it is green, right? But now I'm going to change this to black so that the African male stand out. Now it's standing out so that people can actually know that, okay, we actually deal with what? Mostly African males, right? So now what color do we use here? Now I have to bring it up another. So this is like going to be our secondary color. Now this code is what we're going to use here so that I don't have to keep going back there. So now we have this. So let me change this and let's see how it looks like. You know what? It's easier when I just change everything. Okay, so now we're back to this, but now let me change the African males. Sorry. Okay, so I think you have it here. Okay. So you see, this is how it's going to look like. But now let's adjust the color balance. Increase this to fit the size of the frame. So this is going to be here. So we're not using 000, right? This is our normal black that we're using, which I have just changed. And let me use 20 instead of 18 for this. This is medium. Then this is going to be irregular, because there has to be a balance with your text. So let me put this into an auto layout and then give it a spacing of 16 to top left alignment. So now we have this. So most time when you do auto layout, always set to fill. Why? Because of this. Okay, this is fill container. And then this is fill container. Okay. Now I'm going to click on this button, Control D. I'm going to say get started, right? So I'm going to put all of this into an auto layout. So I'm going to give it a spacing of 24. Remember, I want it to be left alignment. So you can see naturally this is set to fill and this is fixed. Now, you know why this is fixed? Because if I set this button to fill, it's going to fill up. And I don't want it. Do you understand? Because it's not mobile, right? It's not actually like, it's a wrong, if you're following design principle. So it's just going to, because however way you're trying to scale it, even if you're scaling it down, it's going to still fit this one. Can you see what I'm saying? The button is still intact. Do you understand? This is the reason why it is always good. So if I want to put this text now in a mobile, I will just copy and paste, right? Or sorry, duplicate it, bring it to the mobile and just scale it down and then reduce the font. That's why it's good to use auto layout design so that you don't give yourself double work if you have to design for web and mobile screens, or you're also designing for web app. So we're going to take it back to how it was before. So now this is what we have here. And so let's come here and then let's see. So this is how it looks like, right? Fresh, healthy African meals made just for you. This button is looking too big. Or is it just me? Is it just me or the button is looking too big? So the next thing that we have to do now is to bring in our image. This is where you have to like, so I would say like a few years back, we always made use of, you have like Unsplash, but now there are a lot of AI tools that have come out and you can actually just give it its prompts and it will come out with a very good words, with a very good, it will come out with a very good image for you. But let's try Unsplash just to see what works, right? Unsplash is a plugin. So let me look for a chef and let's see.
We can say African chef.
Okay, that's great. Let's set it to latest. Not giving me a good image. This is so you can see that it's not giving us what we want, right? So I'm going to go to, can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
You can see what I'm doing, right? So now I want to use AI. ImageFX is it's an AI tool where that can actually give you images. Just put in your prompt and it will bring out a very good image for you, right? So let's say,
Can't see the other screen.
Exactly. That's what I was asking. Can you guys see my screen? So
Really
let me
seeing the
let me
Figma.
stop sharing. You can see the Figma screen, right?
No, can't see the Figma screen.
Can you see the screen I'm showing you now?
Yes.
So now this is it's an AI tool for images, right? You put in your prompt and it gives you what you want. You can also use Freepik, right? Freepik is also where you can get like images too for your designs. But let's use this and let's just see what it gives us. So we're going to say we're going to use a prompt. You have to put in your prompt for it to give you the kind of image that you want, right? So let's say a photorealistic image of an African chef in Nigeria cooking meals, cooking African dishes, African meal in the kitchen, right? Background should be white with a touch of green. So I'm going to click abstract because that's how I want it to be. When I click on my settings, I don't want a landscape. I want it portrait. So you click on create. Now let's see what image it brings for us. Can you see? So should we use this image? Do you guys like this image?
The middle
The
one looks,
second one is the
yes,
middle one.
This middle
yes,
one?
yes, exactly.
Okay. But it's also good to try different things, right? Um, so let's put in another one. So a photorealistic image of a Nigerian female chef with a curly, voluminous hair in the kitchen making cooking different meals. So let's see what it brings. We can always get the other image back, by the way. But it's always good to have different options, right? Okay. This is a lot. Wow. Do you guys like this? I did not include the background, which means that uh, 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 putting on a white is it apron they call this? Let me just put apron because I don't like this yellow stuff, so that there's an adjustment to that. We can always remove the background. I'm going to use Freepik to remove the background. Okay. So which one do we like?
Since we are having a green background or our primary color is green.
I would remove this background. Whatever background you're seeing here, I'm going to remove it.
Okay.
Or you want us to just go with this? You guys prefer this one?
This one is also nice, Sha. But if we are
Okay.
going with the other one,
This one is
I'll choose-
okay.
Okay, so now I've downloaded this image and I'm going to go to Freepik. Can you guys see my screen?
yes,
Yeah.
ma.
Okay. So Freepik is also very good. You can also explore different images, but we don't really have time for that because if I'm supposed to work on design myself, I'm going to check on multiple images and then look at the one that best fits what I want. But now let's just remove this background, right? So now the background is removed and image has been downloaded. Now, can you guys see my Figma?
No, we are not seeing the.
Not,
I
no.
don't see the picture.
Okay. All right, so you can see now. So I'm going to click here, place image, and I'm going to bring in the image that I downloaded. So now this is our image. You see what happened? That's why I said, you see that removing this, most of this, that's one thing I hate with this background remover. Because a lot of them will remove what you send them not to go and remove. Remove only background, they've removed everything that is even on the table. You can see how this image is now. We cannot use it. So you know what we're going to do? Let's go to Freepik. Let's be quick. Let's go to Freepik and we're going to search for images on Freepik. Now, this is Freepik and I don't want to generate images. Why do I have to generate images? I think there's some images I have generated before. Okay, let me see if I can use any of these. Should we use this one? Okay, there's not like other images, but we use prompt. Now let me use the prompt. Black female chef in her 20s holding a bowl of meal in one hand and scooping the meal with a spoon, about to eat with the other hand. Let's see what it gives me. Now, if you're using Freepik, you have just 20 free trial or whatever they call it. So I'm going to reduce that to 2 and let's just see what it comes up with. Black female chef in her 20s making African meals in the kitchen. So let's see. If it gives us a fair image, we're just going to use it that way. Okay, this is better, right? Is this better, guys?
This one
We
is
can,
good, but removing the background, you take off other important things.
yes, it will take off other things, which means that we might have to use the background. Or should we just use food? Now we can use just food, right?
Yes.
Let's just use food so that we don't waste time on this.
Sorry, ma, please. I just have a suggestion. I think we can actually send a prompt and then stating that we don't need any background for the prompt. I think that should actually work.
So,
Just a
okay, let me
suggestion.
remove just making African meals, right? With a white background. African meals. Background should be white. Let's see what it gives us. And this image is very fine. Let's just use an image or something. Nah, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Somebody dropped a chat. Okay. So let's go back to Figma. We're going to make use of whatever image we see in Figma in on Splash, so that I don't waste time on this. Come food. This is a chef in a kitchen. This is a very nice image. Let's see. Just a picture of different meals. Or should we use this? If we're using this, it means we're going to remove Africa and there. What do you guys think?
I think there was one African food at the beginning in a white bowl.
At the beginning,
Yeah.
which one? This one. This one? Or this one? Just a single meal. Oh. Let me click on. That's the thing. A lot of times the problem is finding the right image. A spot of jollof rice. You go to, I think we also have stock images. But these are single. Oh, this is a nice image, but it's just only jollof rice. Should we use it like that? See this one.
I think we should use it. Yeah, I think we should use that one. It's taking much.
Oh my God, what did I do? I went to click on the. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to use this. Let me try a plugin. There's a plugin called Image Colorizer. Let me see if I can change the background instead of removing the background. What's the color of our button? Okay, I've copied it. Then I've clicked on this. I'm going to paste our color here. I think it might affect the whole design. Well, let's see, let's see. Ah, what happened? It didn't work. Okay, since it didn't work, we're going to just use the image like that. Figma is hanging. That's why I can't even do anything. Oh, wow, see what it did. So let's just use our image like that, I beg. But you can see that if you're designing and when you see that perfect image that you want, don't use images that are, what I call it, branded. You can see Unsplash all over it. It's not advisable. But for practice sake, let's just do this here. Now, this is going to be somehow, which means we have to remove the background.
What if you can save the image and take it to AI remover? Then I think it will maybe problem.
Yeah, I'm trying to remove the background. I'm going to remove the background of this one too. This is a very cool image. It's a very fine image. Oh. It's a different meals. So I'm removing this image. Let's see. Something's wrong with Figma. I can't even see. It's not even working. I can't move around the canvas. Okay, it has removed. Now let me remove this one. Figma has been having issues for a few weeks now. Okay, so I'm going to bring in this image here. I don't know, but I want to use this image. Let's just see how it goes. So you have to create a balance, trying to set this right. Okay, I have African males here. Let's see. So I'm going to put them together in an auto layout. Let's see how it looks like here. You can see that it doesn't look good. Now there's a lot of white space in here, which can be better. But of course, this is just if I'm going to take a lot on this. Let me remove the auto layout. Let me set it manually first. There's a lot of white space in here. Let's see. You can see that it doesn't still look good. Can you see? So let's try the jollof rice image. Here's our jollof rice image. So I'm trying to adjust this. I changed just increasing it to fit. Because I increase it to 40, then this is going to be 24. Now, can you see how it looks? The image is not making the whole thing come out well. Let's see. See, the image is not making it come out well. Because the image, that's why most times, even when you're done with everything that you're doing, everything has to come together. The image also has to come together, right? But like I said, we don't really have that time to start looking for the perfect image. Of course, looking for image is another work on it when it comes to designing, because you want to look for an image that will perfectly fit your design, right? Um, so let me just put these two into an auto layout and we're done. So we're going to just assume that this is actually what they call hero section. It shows the main section of the page and the buttons and then the navigation, right? So if we had enough time to do this better, I'm going to choose a better image, and then I'm going to possibly like add one or two. You can add a leafy background, reduce the blur to this place so that here does not feel empty. Because you can see that there's a lot of white space in here, which is making it look somehow, right? We already have our margin, but this white space is now making it look somehow. So I'm going to adjust, but we don't have that time for that. So this is basically what this is basically what it means, what hero section means, right? This is it. So I am going to take questions right now. Now let me talk about the Android. Yes. So where is this is Android. No, I need Android for phone. I went to tablet. Okay, this is Android. Let's use Android Medium. Let me see Android Compact. Okay. So we're going to use Android Compact, right? So if you're going to create a layout grid for this, you're going to give it a column, and then you're going to give it a 4 count. You're going to give it a margin of 16, and then you can now start designing. So for whoever that asks, is that clear for this Android? Now, I just need to explain that the standard column grid for Android UI, you can use columns for the count, right? You can use 4 or 8. So it depends on what you want. Just that the most common one is always like 4 for mobile, right? Then for the margin, you can also use 8. But you use 8 for compact screens and then use 16 for a larger screen. So that it is often better to use what 16 for a larger screen, just so that even if it's not a very larger screen, it can also be what, because you're going to make your designs responsive. So if it's responsive, it will fit in whatever screen that the user is using to view, as long as it's what Android. Because you know that we also have, like when you look at all this, those days where we had this Nokia Windows kind of phone, you notice that their screen is not always as big as the normal Infinix Android we have now. You guys know that, right? So that's why I said Android has like different screens. But if, as long as you're making your designs responsive, it's just the same thing applicable to website designs, right? People use you see how laptop have like 13, 14, 15, 16, even 17. You see how website has like 13, 14, 16, 17, right? So it's as long as you make your designs responsive and they're scalable, it would always fit in, right? It would always fit into the size of whatever you're using to what to view, right? So that's it, guys. So any more questions? If you have any questions, you can. Before the questions, I want to give an assignment. So the assignment is go and design an hero section of a website. I don't want to give any particular industry, whatever industry. It could be a fintech website, it could be a food brand, it could be a logistics brand, right? It could be an e-commerce website. Do you understand? So whatever brand, whatever industry that you want to work with, you can work with that. But it should just be an hero section alone, right? So I want design and hero section of a website of any industry that you so fit. So that's the assignment. So any question, guys? I need to ask me at questions. Remember that I said if you're designing, for example, you're designing the assignment I'm going to give to you, make sure that we don't have a lot of, always remember to present your designs, because when you're designing, you might not really see how it looks until you present. Now, when you present, you also see where you have to make adjustments. If your typography, if your font size is not like balanced with the rest of the design, or your buttons are looking too large or they're looking too big, you need to do what? Then if you need to add like background, you can add a background layer. You can add colors. If you want to tweak it, there are different ways. You can also go to, when you go to what did I just do? When you go to, this is wrong. I'm supposed to set it first. Okay. So when you go to, so many, you have Behance, you can get inspirations on how you want it to look like, right? There are a lot of ways. You just need to like search and then see what works. So, and then remember that you don't really have to be perfect. So whatever, even if you make a mistake, or something, you just know that we're always here to correct you, right? We're always here to correct you guys. So please don't try to make it perfect. Trying to see what I can do here. Trying to add a background blur. 25. Let me use layer blur. I can't start doing all of this now to take our time, but it's just you can actually add like a blot to it just to remove this negative spacing that we have here. Basically, what I'm saying is make good use of the words of the layout. Make good use of it. I'm not saying everything has to be filled, no, but this spacing here is actually too much if we're actually going to work on this, for example, and then always look for better images. Guys, image is one of the secret actually add to your design. Your buttons might not be well put together. Colors, of course, colors has to add to the whole visual design and aesthetics and whatever, but your typography might be bad. But if your image and your color and then your alignment is really good, typography might not even be noticeable when you present your design. That's the thing. So you see that most of these things actually like put it actually, you see how this green color made the whole design come out together. That is why I said to whatever industry you're working on, always remember to look out for colors. Research for colors and fonts that fit a particular industry. Don't go and be designing for fintech and come and use green for me. I know I'm saying this. I'm not saying green doesn't work, but there are also better colors that you use that will bring out the design of whatever industry you're working on. Do you guys understand? So, in the absence of no questions, we've come to the end of today's class. So whenever I think you have to, there's a model where you have to like submit the
Sorry,
assignment.
excuse me, please. Can I ask a question, please?
Okay, I'll be shouting if you had questions since. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
it just came up to me. Must the background be white?
Oh no, the background it's not a must, it has to be white. You can change the background. You can choose to make the background green. It's just design whatever way that you want. But you know that whatever you are doing, avoid having contrast issues.
All right.
Now, it was one of the trick a colleague of mine actually talked about, and that's why actually it was from there I brought out the trick for font and font weight and then font size. Another trick using background color is if your background is light, you use what a darker shade of text color to fit in. Which practically means that if this background color is going to be green, you know that all your text has to be white. You cannot use black because it will not blend.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question, guys? If you have any other question, please, before I wrap up today's class. Of course, even if you don't have any question and maybe you have questions later, you can always put out your questions on the group and I'll always answer the questions, right? So I've come to the end of this class. Thank you so
Sorry,
much,
hello, can you
guys.
hear me, ma? Well done.
Okay.
Hello? Yes, my name is Emmanuel. First things, sorry, I missed the class. Yes, that was on Thursday, right? And I'm a little bit lost with the auto layout settings because I saw you did it once, twice, and I don't know if maybe there is a class for that lecture now. So that's what I said.
When last did you attend the last class? Or when was
That
the last
was
class you attended?
that was last week Saturday. Last week Saturday.
Okay, so that means you did not attend last week Friday's class, right?
No, I wasn't
Okay.
on it.
And then you did not also attend yesterday's class.
Yes. I
Okay,
was
so
at work.
now we've had like previous classes. I think the auto layout has been taught. I really don't know. You know, we have like different mentors. I don't know if Mr. Ansi actually talked on that. Mr. Ansi, please can you say something about this? So that I'll know if I'll have to refer you because our time is far gone. I would want to know if I'll have to refer you to watch the recording of any of the classes, because I'm sure auto layout must have been taught there.
All right. Good evening. That was Emmanuel, right?
Yes, I think he
All
said his
right,
name is Emmanuel.
Emmanuel. Yeah. So I did not do auto layout. I'm trying to remember if I've done auto layout, but I know I did component variables. Sincerely can't remember if I touched auto layout, but I know that Sumto did not as well, because this is more like the first time we are doing a higher fidelity design kind of. So,
Okay,
but I don't know who's taking the next class. We may have to put that into consideration to because of time. Auto
okay.
layout is not difficult, but I mean because of time today. So what we can do is I don't, who is taking the next class? Let me
I'm
check.
taking the next class. I think I have some to taking the next class, and
Okay, you and
would
something,
put
yeah.
in the auto layout into
Yeah,
consideration for the next class. So please, Emmanuel, we can't really say if it's going to be for Friday or Saturday class for next week. So
yeah,
please try to be available for Friday and Saturday class for next week, so
yeah.
that in case you don't understand, you can easily ask questions since you have no idea on how auto layout works. It's actually going to be better instead of having to miss the class and then watch the recordings later.
All
Yeah,
right,
please.
mom. All right, mom. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Indiana. Thank you so
Uh,
much. Thank you.
You're welcome. That reminds me, Rachel, thank you very much, Oge, rather. Yeah, I don't know which one. I think I prefer to call you Rachel, but Oge is, you prefer Oge, right?
okay, you can call me anyone.
Ah, good, yeah. Okay, so, don't mind me, yeah. Okay, so I received some of the assignment, guys, and please, anytime you're submitting assignment, don't export it and send as an image. We want the Figma file so that I can jump on a call with some of you guys and make some corrections. There are some things maybe I will find a day one of these days and review your assignment, not on the class day, like so that we will not it into your class time, your hours. We find one of these days, not maybe weekday for 1 hour, and just review assignment for those that may want to see the assignment reviews. I mean, you guys did great job, but there are a couple of things that we need to review so that we can change. Like Ululade, Olabi, there are some things I want to review on your assignment. Your assignment is very nice, but just one or two things that we may have to review. Then and that because you sent Figma file, so I'm able to look at your file and see certain things that we may have to work on. So for those that have not sent Figma file, I've already asked you guys. I've sent an email telling you to give me access to your Figma file. Then Shedrack, I've received your email, but I have to request access for me to be able to view your file because perhaps how you sent it. So it's okay. Just look at your email and reply and respond accordingly. Then this Wednesday, for those of you that may want to join, we are having a project presentation, group 2. It's not compulsory, but it would be nice for you guys to join because from next week you guys will be divided. You guys are already divided into group, by the way. If you've not had any group so far, please come on my DM. Let me so that we can add you to a group. Most of you have been added already to a group. You'll be given project that you will work on next week because there's really no time. So you guys can start working on group project before your personal project. So it will be nice if you can join the if you can join this particular presentation and see how they are going to do it and learn from this so that by your when it gets to your own time you won't really struggle. Yeah, so that's it, everyone, guys. We would also want to have a feedback after this. We will get a feedback, send a feedback form to all of you just to get to hear your feedback all together, how your classes have been and where you feel we can do better. It's part of the user research that we normally do also. So as part of people who would always be taking note, taking care of more like you working with data, you guys also need to learn how to send in feedback. Feedbacks are very important when it comes to building a product. So the same thing we want to do as Particle, we want your feedback. If not today, then on Monday, the student care lead will send an email or a on the general group asking you guys to give your feedback. Please, guys, when you receive it, feel free to give us your feedback. We really need your feedback. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Then also, most of the mentors said that you guys are not asking questions when it comes to, like, you guys should ask questions on your community. We are just looking at you guys. Are you guys not working? Because if you guys are working, we will know that you should encounter issue. Abi una don't graduate, una don't be masters. If you guys are good, that's fine. I mean, that's a good thing about us. That's one good thing that we see that you guys are doing well. But the community was meant for you guys to ask questions. The previous set, they ask questions, so and they are also there to answer your question in case you have need. So ask questions on the group. There are mentors, there are 4 mentors, there are other people in the community waiting to answer your questions. So practice yourself, ask questions, and we are ready to answer you guys. Thank you very much, everyone. No question, I believe. All right, guys, bye.